Hi Gemini, and welcome to your reading. So as you know, it's kind of weird. I'm doing like random pulling the signs, even though I did all of these readings and all of them vanished. So this is the second round for February monthly readings, and we are in Mercury retrograde, so you and Virgo are being affected the most. And interestingly enough, I pulled you and Virgo as penultimate and the ultimate signs to read. So I'm doing things a little bit different. So you have a Milky Way perspective. So let's just go see general messages to start, and then I'm going to go in granular details with Celtic Cross. So you have Sky King, which could be you, most likely is you. Then you have Sea Tom. You're not allowing Mercury retrograde to get in your way, it looks like. And here you have Six of Earth, and that's a Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde manifesting cards as sixes and nines, right? So this is clearly coming back to you, and this is kind of like talking about some kind of like energy exchange. It's give and take energy. So if you're a giver, and you naturally attract takers. If you're a taker, you naturally attract givers. But this is telling you to challenge yourself, that if you're a giver, that you need to find somebody who is going to give you first, and who is going to have this balance of giving and taking, and vice versa, right? There is like a clearly balance that needs to be established. Also, interestingly enough, you have this Milky Way, and what is it? This little dot is like our galaxy. It's really talking about perspective. It's the Milky Way is said to be one of billions of galaxies in the universe we can kind of like observe, right? It contains, I think, up to 400 billion stars. We don't know because the light dies, right? Sometimes when we get the message, when we get the light, the star is already kind of like done. And this is kind of like the one that is most familiar to us, being the sun, right? So it's kind of like really oldest star in our galaxy is being told to be as old as the universe itself, right? As kind of like Earth is like about 4.5 billion years old. So Milky Way galaxy is believed to be 100,000 light years in diameter. So it's freaking enormous. Just think about it, like, I mean, the longest trip you took, and now times 10 million times, right? So when you consider from that perspective, our usual frame of reference is kind of put to task, right? It's kind of like even when you go to a different city, you have a different frame of reference. You shift, your attitude shifts. So this is telling me that you have lost your perspective. This is telling me that you need to now take your time, step back and breathe, and allow yourself to kind of like attach, because you have been just too close to the forest. You just cannot see a forest from the tree. You're standing too close. You just don't see it. So if you kind of like go a little bit further, things are going to start making more sense, right? So you will start looking at things from a different point of view, and this is why we got the Sky King. Sky King is like that analytical dude who kind of like really reassess things, right? Look, even he decided, oh, it's a perfect spot to be in the snowfall and on this cold branch bed. You know, that's a kitty cat. They kind of like really turn themselves in a little ball, and this invisible engines kind of heat them up and everything else. So you really need to be a little bit of this observing mode, and it looks like there is going to be some kind of like flirtation. This is a really, really good night to show up, and it could be something going on, but it's something that should go on. Either you have a relationship or you want to establish one. Like, I mean, it's going to mean flirting, and it's going to mean kind of like having certain comfort with this person. So it's not going to be very much, even though this is romanticized, and you know, you feel butterflies in your stomach with this card, and there is anticipation, there are like high level of pheromones in the air. This card is more or less talking about, look, this kitty allow mommy and her kittens to come in. Not only are they allowed to share the food, but she gets the licks and she gets love. So it's kind of like being overwhelmed. Maybe this is going to just evoke certain parts of you that because you're intellectual sign, and I can really relate being an air sign myself, we sometimes just go toward what we want. We appreciate knowledge, we appreciate reading and learning new stuff. We are always on YouTube, on TED Talks, doing stuff, engaged, right? And then suddenly we go like, well, we are watching this love relationships almost like a doctor. Like we really actually need to engage, but how do we engage when this is kind of like our modus operandi, right? So this is really talking about what is the easiest for us to engage is in this exchange, having a dinner with somebody, doing something really nice that is not with some kind of like quid pro quo, kind of like a pattern. So we just simply want to do it, and not necessarily toward the person that you target. It could be just helping an old lady cross the street, but kind of like go consciously and try to do good things, because with this pandemic we are all just about to crack, right? This is telling me you are pulling yourself out from something. You are moving this perspective. So if you were able to see this, now you're going to be able to see this or this, right? It's going to look different. It's going to kind of like start to kind of like appear from kind of like different angle. In any case, it almost looks like you have lost yourself and now you're going to find yourself. So of course I have to kind of like do it to change your perspective again. So let's see, how do we find you, because I'm going to do now more detailed Celtic cross. Okay. So let's see. So, oh my gosh, so there it is. First card, and it's a karma card. You have the wheel. The wheel means like, isn't this weird, right? It's the wheel, it's the Milky Way. Some shift needs to happen, some kind of shuffle, kind of like getting around things, kind of like maybe working things in a different way. I think this kind of like was the message to stop shuffling. There it is. Here's again, see Tom. Some lucky stroke. You're going to meet a person who is just simply going to uplift you. They're going to be completely different. So there's a Sky Queen, and there was a King. Oh my God, this repetition. So this could be you as well. So now looking together, there are two different messages. Doesn't have to mean they're all kind of merging together. It could be also a couple that introduces you to somebody, kind of in their kind of like thing. Well, there's a Fire Queen. So now, that could be a competition. It could be like that you had really high hopes. It could be that you already met somebody, and because of Mercury retrograde, it could be that somebody is now coming forefront. Maybe something didn't work out. It kind of like got sideways. Somebody got busy. Maybe somebody else worked better for you. Maybe somebody else worked better for them at the time. And now it's kind of like just a different angle, and all of a sudden it's going to feel very, very different. That's actually very, very possible in this time period. Then you have Two of Sky, and that's kind of like indecision. It's kind of in which direction do I go. It almost looks to me that you really don't really want to go forward. You really are debating between your head and the heart. This is kind of going back into this perspective, and the kid is looking at this Milky Way. This is also connecting to new moon. A new moon is going to fall on the 11th this time around. It's in Aquarius. It's a very beneficial for you. It really talks about uniqueness, and every single one of us is unique. And if you really know what your essence is, rather than camouflaging it and kind of like trying to cover our colors to appear to be as everybody else, so that way, quote unquote, we are not attacked, try not to do that, because you need to really figure out how to find things that are really, really important for you. So this is the opportunity during Aquarius transit, because everybody is more tolerant to this uniqueness. This is almost like a Milky Way perspective. If you don't do it on your own, the tower will show up. And when tower shows up, like Imon, the gloves are off. Things really need to be rebuilt properly, and this is why it's telling you, you have lost your way. You need to kind of like go and figure things out. And if you don't do it, This is why the Sky King was a little bit on a perched up. She's also perched up. It's also snow over here. They're feeling really, really comfortable that way. She's maybe looking at him down there saying, hey, what the heck, come over here, get your butt over here, kind of a thing, right? Maybe you have a choice of two partners. Maybe this is really talking about indecision. And maybe even a third one is coming through. Lucky you, right? Most of us have even trouble figuring out what to do with one, never mind three of them. And this kind of duality or triality is actually making things really difficult. The Tower also can be very sexual component, that maybe you try to engage yourself really quickly with someone, or it's something that you thought it's 100% and all of a sudden it just like slips through your hands. And something like that happens. Woo! Remember how I said we also have the Devil and Hermit that talks about the sixes? Clearly these two cards can talk about those type of relationships that start very light and go very heavy very quickly, and then even develop codependency, even develop this kind of like need and obsession about a person and about everything about them and how we move forward. So that's in your own house. This is really important. This is almost like a dark side of your own card, of the Lover's card. And it is something about the past. So this could be a person showing up, or it could be some kind of attitude showing up from the past. So maybe something needs to be put to in place. And maybe this is also connecting with this perspective and saying, okay, maybe you're the person who just gets really highly connected to somebody really quickly, right? And then they can dominate you, they can control you, and you try to bend around them, and yet you don't try to bend around them at the same time. But you're Gemini, you're always kind of like jumping all over the place. Your two faces are looking into different kind of like ways. And maybe something third needs to happen. Maybe you need to recognize if you feel longing, if you feel kind of like melancholy, if you feel that you need to earn this person, then there's something wrong. Then you need to have that maturity to kind of shuffle things around. Now you're like on the Karma card is saying you're on up and up and up, because the Tower card is saying even if something collapses, this is in your best interest. So think about that when you start feeling longiness, etc. Because look, somebody is looking at you. Somebody is wondering, why is this happening? It almost looks like, hey, you know, this is the person I would not guess needs to be in this situation. Look at this environment. Somebody is bringing you love. This could very much be the sea tom. It could be a water sign or fire sign that is coming through. But I would say more or less water sign. Actually, if I really have to put my finger down, would be water sign, and possibly even earth sign. But earth sign can be very sexy, and that sexiness can get you in trouble, right? Because that's really Mercury retrograde making you work some issues out. Your hopes and fears, we have here Ace of Sea. And that's, again, this is really connecting. You actually really want something new. You want something fluffy. So this is almost like a barrier. I see this like as a big wall, not any wall, China wall over here, right? So there's like some kind of like barrier. There are some issues, and maybe this is you. Maybe you kind of like strayed. Maybe you turn left and you're supposed to turn right. And now you have to find your way home. You have to find the enthusiasm inside of you. You need to find patience to kind of like go through the process, and not to immediately jump and consummate things and make decisions. It's almost like a menu. No, I really didn't like this steak, and it's kind of like is the process that really needs to take place. And then you have a Six of Fire, so there's another six. This is about victory. This is about feeling like, I mean, on top of the world, like, I mean, people bending to you. So this should not be the goal, because it has to be a win-win situation if you really want things to work. Because it's really interesting, these two cards on the top, it's going from indecision to decisions you make will actually bring you success. Decision that you make will get you somewhere. But if you don't make the decision yourself, if you don't shift that kind of like attitude, if you don't shift how you present yourself and how you kind of like experience people, then these two things will happen. They're going to either pull you more down, and it's almost like you go on the bottom, so it's like you need to sink or swim. So you need to kind of like free yourself in order to kind of like really survive. So that's all about codependency. We have those invisible kind of like chains, and this one can be some shocking event. It could be like you meet somebody and everything is extremely romantic and they just vanish, because toms tend to vanish as well. But if you move slower, if you kind of like spend this time to really see this person's dark side. Everybody in the beginning is beautiful. We know that, right? We will not fall for jerks. They just turn out to be jerks, right? So give yourself time. And by doing that, it's really telling you, like, I mean, just enjoy time. It's almost like a poetry time for some reason. I don't know, guys. It could be somebody who will be doing something out of box and will be appealing to your intellectual side, but also to your emotional side. It's going to be very interesting. I'm going to be watching you this month. So let me clarify this Tower and Demon Cat. It's just one card is needed, I think, because both of them are pretty much talking about things you need to resolve. It's really Merchant. Merchant is very business card, right? It could kind of connect to this Devil over here that we see. A Merchant is really talking about him either waiting for his shipment to come back, or that he loads the new thing and he gets the payment over here. So clearly it's about some kind of like exchange, right? It can talk about the financial issues, because the Demon Cat is generally talking about doing the wrong things that we do for money. You know, I'm just serving my orders kind of a thing. They can talk about also something cunning and crafty or greedy or even devious, if you wish, right? So that can either represent a situation or a person. So when it is a specific person, it kind of indicates somebody who successfully competes in business, negotiation or selling. So this maybe could be you, that you are very successful in business and you're applying the same skills, for example, to your love life, and that simply doesn't work. Then you get a trophy, you get somebody who dances a marionette, but you really want to have somebody who is your equal. That's kind of like what you want. This to me talks about also secret meetings, guys, with clarification. Possibly, you know, there is an older man who come with some kind of like gifting, kind of like perks, etc. It could be somebody. This also can talk about the exes, or somebody else's exes, or the third party as well. So guys, you know, the whole point here is to have confidence in yourself, not to kind of like go down the path that you simply know it's the dead end. That is a big message this month. And other than that, you have so many opportunities. Don't just pick the dead end. Just pick the right one for you, because it's going to be light, it's going to be beautiful, it's going to be very, very sexy. So my dear Gemini, also I do daily tarot, if you don't know. So you can check my Instagram and Facebook. I do weekly live readings every Saturday at 11 Eastern Standard Time. And if you want a private reading, you can go to my website, cattarot.ca, or just send me an email. It's down in the description. Also, to get more messages for you, because these are general messages, you can get one or two. That means they're meant for you. Also, check your ascendant, check your sun sign, and check your moon sign. So that way you can really get more toward your way. So have a beautiful month. Happy Valentine's. I love you, and would like to hear from you, even if your comment is a question. So let's see what it is. Love you guys. Talk to you next month.